वेलकम बैक नाज़रीन। ब्रेक से पहले हमने डिस्कस किया था कि हम अपने फर्स्ट पेज की रेज्यूमे के फर्स्ट पेज में हम क्या चीज़ें मेंशन करें। अब हम बात करते हैं हमारे रेज्यूमे के सेकंड पेज पे क्या होगा। अगर आपके पास इफ़ यू वर्क फॉर मोर देन 3 to 4 कंपनीज इन योर करियर, विच मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल दे डू, तो आप ट्राई करें कि अपने साइज मोस्ट ऑफ द एक्सपीरियंस मोस्ट ऑफ द कंपनीज ट्राई टू पुट इन 1 to 1.5 pages. If you've done work with lesser companies, 3 to 8 pages, then try to fit that all the companies in one page. तो हमें बताना ही है कि हम कंपनी के बारे में या कंपनी की इंफॉर्मेशन जो हमने काम किया उसके बारे में हम क्या चीज़ लिख सकते हैं। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी शुड मेंशन द नेम ऑफ द कंपनी, ड्यूरेशन और द डेट्स। कुछ लोग ईयर डाल देते हैं 1990 to 1991, दैट्स नॉट good enough. We should mention the month, March 1990 to April 1991. That way, the recruiting managers will definitely know exactly how many years and months you have worked with the company. Next is आपका designation, कि आपने किस designation पे काम किया है। कुछ लोग एक कंपनी में 10 साल काम करते हैं और अपनी promotions ले लेके different designations पे काम करते हैं, लेकिन उनकी promotions के बाद 5 designations होते हैं। तो they do a mistake, they always try and write all the designations as separate headers. So that's a big no-no. Imagine अगर आपकी एजुकेशन में आपने मास्टर्स किया है तो आप बैचलर्स, इंटरमीडिएट, हाई स्कूल, you don't mention, you always mention the last education that you have achieved. So same with your experience as well. Try and mention the name, the designation which you have achieved, which you have worked in a company, the last designation. Now, you don't have to mention what the company does. If anybody wants to figure out what the company does, they can always Google. So it's always good not to mention about the company, what they do and all, because that will take a few lines from on your second page and that will be relevant for the job, for the recruiting managers anyway. अगर आपकी 3 कंपनीज में आपने काम किया है तो ट्राई करें अपनी जो भी आपने प्रोजेक्ट्स किए हैं वो ट्राई टू स्प्रेड आउट ऑन द होल फर्स्ट पेज. बट इफ यू कांट फिट then it's advisable to have another few lines from the third page as well. But if you work for 10 different companies, then try to explain or expand the last company that you worked for. The information that you enter about the company, the tasks that you've done, that should be reduced. So always mention the best projects that you worked for, or the best project you have done. If there's any achievement that you have done with the company, mention that as well. But try to use lesser English and more terminologies or more action words. एक और चीज़ मैंने यहाँ पे नोटिस की है जो रेज्यूमे में लोग डालते हैं, वो एक कंपनी पे अगर 10 प्रोजेक्ट्स किए हैं तो मेंशन 10 डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स इन डिटेल. दे मेंशन द नेम्स ऑफ the managers, they mention the names of all the team members and all. That's a big no-no. That will take additional lines in your resume which are not relevant for the job, for the recruitment manager. Now, since you are done with your second page, you are able to tell the recruiting manager what companies you have worked for. Now, the last page should have a few additional things which will show a bit more about you. If you have achieved anything in your previous career, in your college, in your university, mention that. If you have done something good for the community, there's no harm mentioning it. You don't have to mention your passport number, you don't have to mention your marital status, you don't have to mention your nationality. Once you're in Australia, you're an Australian, even though you are on a student visa or you're a PR or a citizen, you're still an Australian, so there's no point mentioning any nationalities. It's a good idea to mention the address at the bottom of your resume. That way, there are a lot of companies or cafes जो try करते हैं अपने neighborhood से लोग hire करने के, that will be relevant for them. That will make sense. Always mention your visa status. Your visa status is always relevant to your recruiting manager because they should know what type of work visa, what type of user visa you are in, so that they can relate to the job they are putting you in. And at the very end in a resume, there's always a good header that you should mention. It's called references. Now, a lot of people do a bit of mistake. They mention the names of the references or the referees that they want the recruiting companies to contact. Now, imagine if you apply for this role and you're not being successful, and the same recruiting manager pulls out your resume after 1 year or 2 years from their database, and they try to contact that person, and if that person's email address, phone number has been changed, or that person is not in your good books and at that time, then it will be a big no-no. So it's always good. It's always a good idea to mention the header references, and always mention a line saying references will be provided on request. I've gone through a few resumes और हमने contact की references को तो हमें पता चला कि the references that have been provided are either blood relations or either the husbands or parents or brothers and sisters. That's a big no-no. You have to mention the names of the references, whom you have worked for or whom you have worked with or whom you have studied with. Your teachers, your previous managers, that will be a big yes. So always mention the names of the people who are professional, who are professionally connected to you, either in your studies or either in your professional work experience. नाज़रीन, ये हमने पूरे सेगमेंट में डिफाइन किया है कि हम कैसे एक रेज्यूमे को बिल्ड कर सकते हैं, कैसे एक रेज्यूमे को हम अट्रैक्टिव बना सकते हैं रिक्रूटिंग मैनेजर्स के लिए. The one last thing I would like to mention is, अगर आप once you read the job description of the role you're applying for, so try to use most of the keywords that they have been advertised, or the job the recruitment company is looking for. Try to use the same words in your resume so that your resume can be filtered out, because a lot of recruiters and companies, they use recruiting softwares. They use softwares which will search all the resumes for those keywords और वहाँ से वो resume को shortlist करके लाते हैं. तो it's always a good idea job description पे जो भी चीज़ें, जो भी skills जो mentioned है वो अपने resume में add कर लें, so that your resume can be filtered out by those softwares. नाज़रीन, आज के लिए सिर्फ इतना ही. हम इंशाल्लाह अपने अगले प्रोग्राम में आपको बताएंगे हम कैसे कवर लेटर डिज़ाइन कर सकते हैं बेस्ड ऑन द जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन रिक्वायरमेंट्स. एंड ऑल्सो हम आपको बताएंगे कि आप अपने फर्स्ट इंटरव्यू कॉल, जो कि आपको मोस्टली फ़ोन कॉल होती है, हम उस पर कैसे अपने रिक्रूटिंग मैनेजर्स या हायरिंग मैनेजर्स को अट्रैक्ट कर सकते हैं, सो दैट दे कैन कॉल अस फॉर द नेक्स्ट फेस टू फेस इंटरव्यू. बहुत शुक्रिया आपका. अल्लाह हाफ़िज़.